right? So as I said that after this particular sessions, it will be long 2 hours and hope we'll complete within that. If not, then don't worry, we'll have another day sessions to complete the rest of the configurations, because the whole intentions of this particular session is full hands-on. So we'll not talk much theory, but if you are interested in AWS, and if you're working for some of the projects for a company that you really need to know how the database migrations works, okay, and what are the components, okay, what are the AWS tools you are going to use. This is something I know a good chance, good opportunity for us to know. So this is a lab we have created, but what we'll do that we'll create everything from scratch so that you also get to know the steps by steps process. What are the configurations you need to do. So first couple of minutes, 2 minutes introductions about what is heterogeneous migrations, guys. So heterogeneous is just a opposite of homogeneous migrations, right? That means if you have on my left a different database engine, and on your right, if it's a different database engine, okay. My left indicates it's my source database. It can be Oracle, it can be SQL, Microsoft SQL, it can be MySQL. But if you have on your right, which is a target database, which is completely different than this left, then we should say that these are heterogeneous migrations. Homogeneous migration is very easy in terms of configuration stuff. It would be not that complicated. So whatever you have, you will have. But whenever we call some of the different version, different type of databases, not type, different database engines, then there's a lot of complexity. I don't know how many of you know from database background, but this is something it is important to understand. If you have a lot of store procedure, if you have a functions, right, then you also need to do a lot of conversations of that, because we don't know that this store procedure that you have written on your left hand side, which will out of the box will work on the different right hand side, because the completely different engines altogether. The behavior, the different the internal configurations are completely different, the schema will become completely different. So here this is the architecture, and you can see on my center there's a concept called replication instance. In AWS they call AWS DMS, okay, database migration service. And that is something we'll also see, that how to configure this DMS, how can you create the source endpoint or target endpoint, so that you can do a kind of migrations. So this source server, it can stay anywhere. It can be your on-premise databases, it can be on Azure, it can be on different cloud, and if you would like to migrate on AWS, then this DMS is a perfect, perfect solutions. When I say perfect, I mean it would be a kind of easier in terms of configurations. It would be easier for deployment, case-to-case basis. It depends. So let's not talk much about this architecture. So all we need to have my source database. We have the target, we have the DMS, and we have source endpoint and target endpoint for end-to-end configurations. Okay. All right. So since I don't have any on-prem, so let's assume that I have created, I'm going to create a MSSQL server, okay, something like that, which is running on EC2 server, typically virtual machines, okay. And let's assume that this is my on-prem, but different versions. And on my right-hand side, I'm going to use RDS PostgreSQL. RDS is a database managed service from AWS, right? And then once it's done, then we'll create a fresh new database inside that, and we see what are the all configurations we need to do. Okay. So let's go, first of all, I'll just want to give you how it looks like. I've already created for some reason, but yeah, you can also see. So let's say this is my source database where I've installed SQL Server, and the sample database is running inside that. Okay, and if I go and bring up another window, which is a PostgreSQL, which is running on AWS. So I've connected using PGI, which is a kind of uh, a tool to connect a PostgreSQL. And for SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server, we are going to use a very traditional SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. Okay. So, and then we see other things. So I've done these migrations, but for us, we have to create everything from scratch. So what we are going to do, let me go to instance, this AWS Management Console. As I said, that let's assume that I'm going to create a SQL Server. Okay, and then I'm going to create another RDS PostgreSQL on the AWS also and see the configurations. So quickly, I can launch instances. It is something pretty easy for that. So let's say I'm going to create a source SQL server. Need to choose Windows operating system, and then obviously I need to have the SQL Server standard editions. All right, because that is the whole thing we are going to do here. And also maybe I can use some bigger server, let's say M6A large. So this is a server size, and we have to create the key pair. I mean, it's not easy to class the topic, but this is something I'm going to create for this lab. So I'm still can use my existing key pair, which is I've already created. And then you need to define a proper VPC. So I've created a VPC also. It is a very straightforward VPC where I have created, a public subnet, private subnet. If you know already AWS, then this is a very basic one. So I'm going to, launch this one, the server on the public subnet. I need IP address. I need a security group. The security group is something, a firewall. So, I'll also show you what are the configurations I have done in the security group, the firewall sections. And I think pretty much of that, don't need to do anything and quickly create a server. So the server will take some time because this is a SQL server, and SQL Server needs some time for creation, etc. So again, here I'm going to do here the SQL Server installations on AWS EC2. Again, if somebody joined late, you can launch the SQL Server anywhere. Since I don't have any on-premise setup, I don't have an Azure account. So probably let's assume that I have created the SQL Server in on-premise, but for us, it is running here, no problem. So once it is done, right? Once the entire setup process is done, then yes, you also need to have the target database, right? Because without target, where you have to migrate. It's a pretty straightforward thing. So right now, the second process, I have also this PostgreSQL installed for my lab, but we can create a fresh new one for us right now for this particular workshop webinar. So let me create a fresh new PostgreSQL database using RDS. You can see there are different combinations. The RDS provides a different engines. So I can use the PostgreSQL, and then it is asking a couple of stuff, but very important. When you migrate from different engine to PostgreSQL, Right now, AWS only supports up to version 15. Okay. If your database version is 16, then as on today, you really cannot migrate using this DMS. Okay. There is a little limitations right now. So maybe AWS will, AWS they have some roadmap on that. So also DMS will support, but as of now, DMS only supports version 15, not 16. Okay, very important. So let's say I'm going to use let's say this 15.7, no problem. Couple of options. Again, this is not full-fledged RDS class, but I'll just give you some of the understanding. So production dev test free. That means what sort of database you are going to create, right? Is it for production? So it is for dev. So since it is a lab, I'm not going for the multi-AZ, which will be pretty expensive. 2 instances will be running and etc. But for us, we can simply create single DB instances, and probably we can give it a name like target DB. For you, you can give any name. Okay, for our case, maybe target DB. Master username still can be PostgreSQL. You can change as per your company needs, your customer requirement, right? And then what I have done, I have used the self-managed password that you can define the password, and probably for again this lab, you may still choose the T series, but it's not recommended, right? For productions, always choose a very good server, M series or R series. But yes, again, we can choose some smaller instances, maybe T3 media, 2 virtual 4 GB RAM. I don't need that much of space. I'm okay with 20 GB, and I am completely okay for other settings. But yes, VPC plays a significant role anywhere in the AWS. You should define a proper VPC. So for our lab, we are using, right, the DMS new VPC throughout. So something also you need to be very careful that, what sort of VPC you are going to launch. And I need the public access at this stage, so that I can access through my laptop. But again, AWS doesn't recommend, even nobody recommends that to use the public access, because database should reside in the private subnet. Yeah, I mean, you can create the VPN, etc. But yes, we need to understand the main thing today, which is DMS, how schema conversions things works, how complex migration you can do. So for these, we can still okay for the public access. And then the security group, which is firewall, you have to define, and I'm okay for this ability zones. I don't need this. I don't need also enhanced monitoring. I don't need also, okay, I need this database name, because that is something important. Without databases, how can you migrate? And this is something I also need backup at this stage. I don't need any kind of maintenance. It's okay. Pretty okay for me. Looks good, right? Yeah. Yes. Create database. So what I've done, so we have created this SQL Server still running state, launching state. So now, just now, we have created the PostgreSQL and RDS still launching state. It takes some time. Once done, then we'll see what are the step 1 we have to do, okay, to start this all of the replications thing. Any questions so far? I can take questions now. So far, if you understand the processes, what exactly we have done here. So we are doing the kind of infrastructure, right? The basic infrastructure, at least, to show, to start. So I can see my second server, which is just now we have created source SQL, looks okay. It has been created. And if I try to log in to the server, and see if I can log in. So you see there's an option called connect, right? Click connect. Since the Windows, go to RDP client, and then we have installed a PEM file, right? The PEM file is a security certificates, so that you can log in to that particular server securely. So this is something, the process, like it is easy to login process. So you really need this all step. So I've just generated a password using this PEM file, and I need to download this remote desktop file right now. Here you go, and click on that, asking for password and login. So this is something I'm going to log in to this particular server, which is SQL server. And then when this when my login will be successful, then we'll do something like we'll create the databases. We'll follow some of the basic steps so that we can start these entire migrations processes, migration configurations. So it is still loading for me. It is a black screen for me. It will take some time. Okay. It is there. All right. So now let me do something. It is optional for you, but usually I do this kind of stuff for Windows machine initially. Server manager. The server manager, I'll just turn off the Internet Explorer enhanced security. So please enhanced security, I can off it, turn it off. And I really don't need the security right now, because firewall settings, I can turn it off. For you, again, you can on. It is absolutely recommended from security landscape, but yeah, for me, I don't need this right now. All right. Private network is also, I don't need that. And all right, so I've just disabled a couple of things. So now the first thing, we need to launch the SSMS. SSMS full form is SQL Server Management Studio. This is a kind of a client, okay, to connect the SQL Server. So the SSMS is already installed during the launch process when I selected the MSSQL, right, server. And here you go, SQL Server Management Studio. So yes, it's a somebody may be asking, like, what's the level of this workshop? It's a level 300 discussions. It is little advanced, and I think it would be helpful because this is something exactly we do at the productions environment, the real migration time. The SQL Server Management Studio is a big one, heavy one. So initially, it always takes some time. So what you can do that in interest of time, we will install, we'll download and install a tool. Okay, the tool name is SCT. Okay. So what is SCT? SCT is a schema conversion tool, which is a part of AWS DMS service. Okay, which is database migration service. So SCT will help you to convert the schema, because here we are talking about the different version of the server, right? Here is MSSQL to PostgreSQL, okay? So that the entire schema of the two databases are different. So this tool will help you to convert for the schema conversion. So I'm going to download this tool. But meanwhile, I can see my SSM is launched. That's great. Let me connect. And yes, I can see, I've logged in my MS SQL instance, right? The server. And inside the database, I really don't have any user-defined databases, all system databases. So we will create the databases. But what I can do, let me go to this Internet Explorer or Edge and try to download the SCT. All right, finish. Done that. So if I go and just simply type AWS SCT download. So here's the link. You can install, download and install from this link. If I go there, you can see there's a Microsoft Windows. But if you are using different Linux distributions, Ubuntu, Fedora, that also be available. So Microsoft Windows, for our case, it is getting installed, downloaded first. Sorry, and then install. Okay, it will take a minute time. Let it be. Any questions? You understand what we are doing here, guys? What exactly the steps that we are doing? So somebody joined late. Nothing. I mean, we have just installed SQL Server or PostgreSQL. Okay, both end, and then the SQL Server on the source side, we are doing some of the settings to start the migrations. I have logged in my SSMS SQL Server through SSMS, right? And then I'm now going to install a DMS, right? SCT for certain purpose. What's the purpose? I'll explain. Okay. Still is downloading. So meanwhile, you see when you logged in to MS SQL, then couple of things. If you are not familiar with the Microsoft SQL Server database engine, so on your left you see a couple of options like databases, security, all other stuff. They call it objects and different services, right? So what we'll do, we'll create a sample databases for our test, for our this webinar workshop. So we'll create the sample database, and then we'll use our migrations using these sample databases. Okay, our sample databases name may be sample DB. For your case, it can be anything. So by the time this download got completed, right? What download? The SCT, right? And what is SCT? SCT is schema conversion tool. What it does? It will help us to convert from one schema to another schema. Why is it needed? Because these are heterogeneous migrations that we are talking. So go to this folder, and then in the download, you'll see this zip, and then simple click process. Install some time. Next, accept, next, install. Pretty easy. All right, it finished. And then once you installed, then it will look something like that. There's a new logo on your desktop. We will use that, not now, but let me create a fresh new database. Okay, the database name is sample DB. Simple sample DB. Okay, so we have created a sample DB, and inside the sample DB, we are going to create our first table. The table name, I can refer to a quick script for that. And it is very simple. Hold on. So So the table is persons, okay? And very important pointer, guys, now, right now, you pay attention. So whenever you are going to use this kind of migration, always remember, and if you are going to use DMS, which is AWS DMS, the primary key constraint is mandatory on your source table. Okay, I repeat, the PK or primary key is absolutely mandatory on your source database. Otherwise, your DMS thing will fail. Okay. So here you can see that when I just pass the syntax, which is typically not null and primary key, and then all of the column like last name, first name, and the data type is worker. But whatever your case, it can be 100 columns, different columns, data type, all okay. But you really need to have one at least primary key so that your DMS will work. So I'm just going to execute this, and my table looks okay. Let me just refresh. And inside the tables, now I can see there's a new table called persons. All right. So it's a blank table, right? There's no point of using the blank table, so that we have to write something inside there. So again, I'm going to insert certain queries. You can also go and do in a graphical way, GUI, but yeah. So insert into, I'm going to use the same table called persons, and then this is the ID, last name, first name, age. This is what? These are all column, right? And then I'm going to insert certain values like 1, Ghost, Ravi, 30, okay, and then execute. And then maybe in the next row, maybe Sharma, Rupesh. So we are going to add another more. That would I think okay. And always I use this guy named Dan Brown. How many of you know? It's my personal favorite writer all the time. Dan Brown, I don't know his age, maybe 65 or 70. So these are three records I've just added into this particular table. If you just go and check through, or maybe star, simple, right? Single star from PPO persons. So I have added 3 rows, right? These 3 records. Okay, so it looks like I have some data now on my source database. All right, nice. So it is time your customer, your team, your manager says, you know what? So this is your source server, and now you should start the migrations. But before we'll get into all of the other tool like DMS, SCT, there are another prerequisites you should do, otherwise it will fail. You have to create a logins, okay? The specific logins so that your DMS service can talk to the SQL server. Wow, so what do you mean by this? Now it is very confusing. Okay, what I mean, if I just go and bring up my whiteboard, whiteboard is not moving to the folder. To minimize, and if I just write to whiteboard, so all we know that this is my source. Many times we say, okay, many times we say there's a PostgreSQL, no problem. PG, let's say PostgreSQL, short form. Many times we have said, okay, this is a guy called DMS, pretty awesome. Many times we have seen there's another 2 components, which is source and target. Cool, no problem. So now you are saying that I need to create another login for this guy. Why? Because DMS doesn't know who you are. Who you are, SQL Server. I am here sitting in AWS. You really introduce yourself so that I can connect you and I can authenticate you that you are a trusted source for me. So that's why you need to create a credentials inside the SQL and allowing SQL to accept any request coming from DMS. These are prerequisites, by the way. Okay. Similarly, in PG, the same thing. You will allow PostgreSQL so that the DMS can authenticate this PostgreSQL server as well. So for the entire migrations, right, you need some authentications. Otherwise, DMS doesn't know who you are, SQL doesn't know who DMS is, and all of the problematic things happen. Having said that, I am here, and then I have to create the security at the two stages. Two stages means now it is little confusing. If you are not SQL guy, MSSQL, then probably you don't understand, but I will take 2 minutes time to explain. So in SQL, they are saying you need two types of security, my dear friends. One is at the instance level, which is this, or at the database level, which is that. Okay, so if you just navigate, then you can see there's an option called security as well. So I have to tell my SQL server, hey buddy, I am going to create a particular authentication so that you can accept DMS service at both ends. This is something SQL Server authentication works. It will take 1 hour times to explain, but that is how you have to do for this DNS. So inside the logins, I am going to create a logins. Just simply create, right click on that, and then go to new login, and I am going to create a DMS as a SQL authentications. So because these are SQL Server authentication, not Windows authentications. So again, this is another SQL Server thing. So I'm going to create particular SQL Server authentications, not like to Active Directory or local Windows authentication. So all Windows guys understand what is that. Let me put a password. I don't need this all complexity master. So, okay, looks okay. And then server roles. So I am going to allow this DMS as a system admin, or I'm going to allow this DMS to connect master and sample DB. Okay, and rest all fine. Okay, you need to remember these steps. So I've created this security at this login at the security level, okay, the instance level. And now if you go and do a little refresh here, now I'm going to this database security level and see in this security. So learn database, sample database, security users. Yes, the DMS already there, already created. So from here, so just let me check the properties, whether it looks okay or not. So general, all right. It should be DB owner, DB owner. Okay. So this is the second steps, right? We have created an authentications here in the security. And the last thing, if you go to the properties at the instance level, just change the SQL Server Windows authentication mode, which is sometimes called a mix mode. Okay. Basically, I'm telling my SQL Server, now SQL Server from now onwards, you should accept both Windows, both SQL. Okay. That means first time when I logged in, you understand, I chose U Windows. Now I've created a DMS. So DMS is SQL authentications. So you should accept both. Are you okay? SQL said yes, unless until you say okay. So once you hit this button, SQL Server says, okay, but you know what? I need to be restarted. That is the prerequisites. That's the process of, in the SQL Server. So just hit OK. And then if you go to SQL Server configurations manager, maybe, yes, SQL Server configuration manager. From here also you can do from command line also you can do. But let's say I am going to restart this SQL Server, which is this restart, because otherwise SQL Server will not accept, he will not obey me. Okay, so it is something to do. Will take some time. Okay, now it is starting. Cool. It's restarted. And then if I just close it and try to disconnect the server and connect, now I'm going to choose SQL Server authentications, going to use DMS. Okay. Password is there. No. So something wrong there. Let me figure it out. What is that? Maybe some permissions issue. Security. The security. Check logins. DMS. Go to properties. Password is okay. Server roles looks okay. User mapping. No. Status is fine. And then in this another security, this is for instance level. Now if I go to security and see general, DPO, it's okay. Owner, DP owner, right? Membership, just double check some missed stuff there definitely, otherwise not. What password I have given? Oh, my bad. I'm giving the wrong password. Anyway, so now I can see I've logged in to this particular SQL Server using the DMS, which is a SQL Server authentications. Pretty awesome, no problem. So I'm done with the SQL Server configuration at least. Thanks God, right? A lot of configuration. So if I minimize that, then the second process, which is I have to really deal with this guy, which is concept called AWS schema conversions. Before I get into this, just quickly check whether my PostgreSQL, how things works there. I mean, so far we have been talking about the only MSSQL, and you see this is the screen, pgadmin 4. So you should use this tool to connect your PostgreSQL, okay? Just like your SQL Server SSMS. So right click, register, go to server. Maybe I can give a name PG new, right? And now I need to connect my server. Now questions for you. So this server, this Postgres server is running where? Very simple questions. So I'm going to connect this Postgres server from my pgadmin 4, but this server is running where? Yes, anybody?
In RDS?
Of course, yes, it is RDS. So thanks, Vivek. So for that, you need to have certain informations. So what informations? So let me go to AWS, RDS. Okay. Which one is mine? This one, maybe. Yeah, both them are same. Pretty confusing. No problem. So this should be. So if you just go and connect, you need to have the endpoints, okay, because RDS only provides an endpoint to connect. So you can just copy this, right, and put it over there in this PG admin. Okay, so PG as PostgreSQL works on 5.32, 5.432 database name. You understand the target DB and username PostgreSQL, and I have given some password during the launch time, during the launch, and then simply save it. And here you go. So you can see that I have connected the databases, right? And if I go and check the schema, oh, I think it's a wrong databases I have connected. It's the existing one. It's already there. Hold on. Let me disconnect. We see the name is the same, right? That is a bit confusing. So maybe this one. Yeah. So the process same, following the same steps. Click on that, register target, give it a name like our demo, maybe connections. Rest everything looks okay. Okay, so this is our newly created database. Inside that, I really don't have anything, everything by default, settings. Okay, no tables, nothing, right? It's a default. So looks okay. Now I am back to the server, which is the source server, SQL server, right? Things are running there. So you remember that we installed, downloaded and installed a AWS schema conversion tool. Now you have to use that for the next step to initiate. So just double click to open, and then it takes its own time. So the good part of the schema conversion tool is it will give you some of the very nice, reports. I'll show you what do I mean by nice. So it will tell you that which are the objects are more complex, cannot be migrated, or you have to do something there, or some kind of, analytics report, all stuff. I'm going to accept it. And then this is a kind of console. So our use case is SQL databases, and our source engine is what? Not Azure SQL database, but you can see pretty much you can use this DMS SCT for different, source engine. Somebody using if somebody from the IBM DB2 background, Oracle, PostgreSQL, whoever you are. So you can use, for our case, it is a Microsoft SQL Server migration. So you need to choose Microsoft SQL Server. And right now, as on today, I said there's a little limitations. It supports only 15, not 16. But very soon, AWS will launch that DMS, and SCT will support PostgreSQL 16. So I am working with the team, and I know got to know that they will take some time for to release the 16. So now you see there's a couple of options. So I want to switch engines and optimize for the cloud. So if your customer says, okay, I really want to migrate things on the cloud because the optimizations, or I want to keep the same engine but optimize for the cloud, or I want to see combined report for database engine switch and optimization report. So if I click last one and click go to next, it will be asking so many informations. So basically, now DMS SCT wants to connect your source engine. You remember I said, so now all of that's why all of the DMS authentication, etc. you have to create in the SQL Server, because DMS now authenticates and now try to connect your source server and and fetch all of the information that we need. So you need to fill up the form. Server name. All right. Server name is, if I just minimize here. So this is my, if you go to properties, you simply copy. Server port is what? SQL Server port is 1433. Instance name, it is optional, or you can put the same. Username, DMS. So this information is not suffice. You really need to have something else more, which is Microsoft SQL Server driver path. Basically, the DMS will connect to SQL Server. How? It is not like, from the door and DMS will knock the door and SQL Server open the door and it will come. It doesn't work this way, right, in database world. So if any application wants to connect any database, you need to have a driver. Somebody called JDBC driver, somebody called ODBC driver. Okay. So we will have this JDBC driver so that this DMS application or this DMS SCT applications will try to communicate with the SQL Server through these JDBC connections, right? So the next step, you need to download a JDBC driver, for MSSQL. Okay, download JDBC driver. Let me, yes, this one. Download, you see, download Microsoft JDBC driver. It's okay. So I have downloaded this. It is pretty small, 7.2 MB, no problem. So wait for some time. It's verifying. If we go to downloads, and inside this folder, you see this one in the jars. Okay, in this path you see, and this is the first one you need to refer. You may still use this folder, or you simply go and copy for your easiness. So this is not a mandatory that you have to create a separate folder. Still you can call that folder, but yeah, for me, let's say JDBC folder. So I need to paste it and close it. Okay, so go back to SCT and go to browse. C drive, I've just created the folder called JDBC. I'm calling this jar file. Looks okay. Text connections, okay. So now this DMS is trying to contact SQL Server and see if it will try to contact this particular server. Yes, connection successful. Super news. And then I'm going for next. Accept risk. So it tells us, hey guys, I really can see now your database running on SQL Server. Okay, these are all server you have, right? MDB, sample DB that you guys have created. Which one you would like to start? I say, okay, this one. So this is our database.
Devjit, I just have one question, if you don't mind.
No problem.
So this the JDBC which we have installed right now. So it's just the fetching the information for the SQL database which we have created on the EC2 instance.
Right,
That is okay.
right. Your understanding is absolutely correct. Because see, this is applications at the end of the day, right? And if
Mhm,
you want to connect any applications, okay, from the
mhm.
application database, you need to have certain database driver, right? Somebody ODBC.
Yeah,
So exactly,
correct.
so this driver is only needed for the communications to the database, Vivek.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Good question. Anybody, any questions? So I keep on talking for last few minutes. So any questions so far? You understand what's going on?
Just looking for one small confirmation,
Yes. Yeah.
Devjit. So
Ranjana.
when we talk about a SQL server, so let's say if there are multiple instances,
Hmm.
if I get it right, I need to have these login credentials defined at the instance level as well as at the database level.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All
Yes.
right. Thanks for confirming.
Thank you. Thank you. Good observations. So yes, so right now this is exactly what's happening. This DMS SCT connection successful, and they're just I got selected this database and click next, and it is now again doing something, analyzing table, etc., and then see what happened. Wow. It is showing something, a very comprehensive report that we call database migration assessment. So that means every database might not be ready for your migrations journey, or somebody called a modernization these days, right? This is a modernization, that something we are doing, right? From one database to another database. It's a heterogeneous migration, but it's a part of modernizations, right? But if you see, for us, it is a green, but believe me, in real production, there's a lot of blues. Blues means not good at that point. So blues means something you really need to factor. So green means you really don't need to bother, completely compatible to PostgreSQL. Everything will be running fantastically fine. But if you use at your home, maybe Adventure Works, okay, these are Microsoft, demo databases. And if you follow the same thing that we are doing, then probably you will see there's a lot of blues, okay, blue colors, right? And blue means maybe some of the source code, some of the, sorry, stored procedure is not compatible. You need a manual conversion, or maybe it's a not out of the box, it will convert, so any migrations is not very easy. Okay. And when it comes to databases, so databases, it is a complex and complex at every stages. I mean, each and every migration is complex, but database is more complex, right? So this report will tell you that, okay, what would be your assessment report, whether you can start, and from there you can, develop, or your project team, they can, maybe measure some kind of estimations, how many months, how many days, how many cost, all of the things, they can see or assess. So this is exactly like to like migration assessment, like, it is saying, okay, all green, again, no problem. If we go for the server level report, it says all okay. So again, I'm just pulling up these kind of discussions because this is something very, very, very important for you to assess, like where you are, where do you stand, where your database is, and how many complex things you need to do. Okay. So this is the assessment report. And then if I go next, okay, many customers also asking that, okay, does this database migration assessment tells us that whether my database is cloud friendly, or maybe they have developed very legacy applications, lots of old legacy functions, right? So is this the right time to migrate, or how complex it is? Okay. Anyways, it's something like a part of this assessment. So go to next, and now same song and dance. It says, okay, now source server is done, but you really need to do for this one, the the database, which is your target this time is PostgreSQL, right? So you have to choose Amazon RDS for PostgreSQL. And same thing, you need to define the server name, server port, etc. Okay, if I go, so the server name is, I mean, this endpoint, okay? You have to go and just an endpoint. So PostgreSQL works on 5432. Database name is target DB. Username is what? PostgreSQL, right? Postgres. Let me double check once. Postgres. Okay. Password is. Again, now the same thing for MSSQL. You need to have a JDBC driver for PostgreSQL as well. So I need to download now, this time for PostgreSQL. P. P. Let us give it a try whether this one or not. It should. Let me check. Okay. Then I can put it on the same locations. Browse. JDBC. Text. Okay, the connection successful. Okay, it also reaches to the PostgreSQL and looks absolutely okay so far. Wow, what a loop. So you can see on my left hand side, it is the source database. On my right hand side, this is a PostgreSQL, your target database. Okay. And you really need to connect your source and target once again. I think the source is already connected, but let me check my target database whether it's connected or not. If I just click, so okay, this I think it's also connected. Yeah, it is. So it is also connected. So right now, on my left, there's a database running. On my right, it's a kind of blank box. So the whole intention that I have to migrate my sample database schema over to the PostgreSQL at this right hand side, right? How to do that? If you just go and right click, okay, and you see there's an option called convert schema. So because it's a heterogeneous migrations, modernizations, so you are now converting. There's a whole idea, right, using this SCT, schema conversion tool. So I'm going to convert the schema so that it will be compatible for my right hand side, which is PostgreSQL. So just click convert schema and yes, it will so now it will get converted. You see there's a sample dbo, right? And then if you simply go and right click on this schema, okay, apply to databases, that means it is there, but now you have to apply. The moment you apply, then in your PostgreSQL, it will be there. So just click apply and yes. Okay, now let's prove that. If I go this pg admin 4, nothing, it was nothing there. Now if I just quickly refresh, You see, okay, the schema there, the tables, you can see the persons table. It's not, you see there's a persons table. Let me close all of them, confused. So at least the schema there, but if I just open the schema, no data there. Only the last name, first name, age, and ID. That is the schema, right? All of the conversion is done at the end. But I need data. So without data, what's the point? So remember, SCT is a schema conversion tool. So it will convert your stored procedure, your functions, your table schema. But for the actual data to migrate from here to there, you need to have another person, another service. The name is the DMS itself, the database migration service, that we have not created so far. So the 80% things done, right? The all of the complexity, all of the stuff. But now we'll start seeing the DMS configurations. You can take 3-4 minutes break, and then we can also come back if you think that too many things, too many things to absorb. I'm okay. Or if you can start. So what I can do that, I'll quickly create the DMS because DMS needs some time to create. So during that time, we can take break, okay, in the interest of time. So go back to AWS Management Console, okay? And now we need DMS. This guy, this replication server, because this server will connect this and that, and continuous replications through this source endpoint and target endpoint. So SCT is just a part of this DMS for the conversions process. But now the data, continuous data migration, if you need, then you need to have a DMS and replication instance and these two source and target endpoint. This is something we are going to create now. So in this database migration service, if you go left, there are a lot of services, but the main thing is a replication instance. So if you click replication instance, you have to create a replication instance like a EC2 server, kind of, but it's not. I'm giving a name like replications, whatever. So it is a EC2 instance at backend. For us, it is, I mean, we cannot see, like EC2, but it is a backend server, which will do a kind of replications for us. You can choose some of the bigger machine if you have a lot of data to get migrated. It is up to your use cases, how complex your situations. If you take a small instance, then probably you will get stuck. That is something you also need to be very careful on that. So DMS also provides some of the high availability options like multi-AZ, single AZ during this migration process. If one of the DMS fails, then what happens? So all you know that AWS is very much concerned about the reliability, high availability. So that multi is still there, but yeah, for our case, a single AZ1 EC2 node is okay. So again, the same thing, virtual private server. So we can still use our same VPC, and this replication subnet group you have to create. Replica subnet group is nothing but it's a kind of they need their own subnet inside this VPC. Maybe I'll touch upon last 5 to 10 minutes all of the very not important stuff, but you need that. I mean, I shouldn't say the non-important, basically, something there, that's why they are there, but I'll clarify what is this. So, okay, and this DMS is a public accessible because it will connect your on-premise stuff, on-premise source server. That's why if it's a private, then it's a problem. Many customers says, no, I really don't need to do any migration over public public internet, okay? Even the DMS, non-DMS, I don't know. So in that case, if you are really very concerned about the migration will not go through internet, then you should go for the direct connect or the kind of IPsec VPN tunnel. Okay, that's something also you can do. But for our case, it is running on maybe on premises. EC2 is okay, but yeah, you understand the point. So this is there. Okay, and also the security group. Let me check if I missed something. All the important areas. Yes, looks okay, and create replication instance. So this replication instance will take some time, and once this replication instance will get created, we'll also create the source endpoint and target endpoint. So otherwise, DMS cannot communicate your source database engine and target database engine. Okay. So having said that, let's take a quick 5 minutes break, guys, and we'll come back after 5 minutes. All right, I think 1 minute early because I forgot to click the start. Hope you saw that, but okay. Um, so it is still creating. Yes, it takes some time. No problem. So what I can do for this DMS replication creation process, I can explain endpoints and some of the settings that I skipped, right? Like security group, you remember that I told you that it is important, right? So first, yes, Vivek, you
Just wanted to know in this replication instance which we have created right now. So once the data will be get start migrating. So my concern is that the source which we have in that SQL, will it be automatically get removed from there and it will be taken over all the properties and everything to the PostgreSQL?
it is a copy
Is
paste. Copy is not my move. I mean, you still have
okay.
of the data.
Okay. So
If
it
you
will be still lying on the MySQL server in that. The
yes, yes,
data will be still there. Okay. Okay,
everything
fine.
should be there. It is just this DMS middleware. It is just my
Okay.
yeah. So your data still be there. No problem.
Okay. Fine.
Okay. Any questions before we'll jump into these endpoints? No? All right. So let's go to endpoints. So these endpoints I've created for another lab, but let me create the endpoint. And you know that this time I need another two endpoints, one for source, one for target. So let's start with source. Let's say give it a different name so that I can understand our new SQL source something. Okay. And the source engine, yes, it is Microsoft SQL Server. And then you need to again, fill up the all of the server name, port, etc. Okay. Something pretty straightforward. So server name, if you forget, then I can bring it up even. Let's see here, this one. Okay. And then port is 1433. Username was DMS. Socket, I don't need. Database name was sample DB. Sorry, which one? Yes, sample DB. So this is the settings, the first forms. Then you don't need that. And also, the thing is that we really need to map the replication server in between. Let me just, okay, I think it's okay. So there's an option called test. So you should test, whether your DMS can communicate to the source server, right? Through the source endpoint. But right now, I think that our DMS replica server has not yet ready. Not sure. If not, then there's no point. Let me go and check. It takes some time. For instance, need some time. Okay, no problem. So I'll show you what are the things I have created for others. Then I can follow the same steps. So these are SQL Server source and target. You can see for another lab. If you just click on that, you can see there is a details. Then right now everything there's no actual things happening, but it will show you something like that. And similarly, if you go to endpoints, the target, some of the uh, properties you see from here. There's no connections right now going on. But what we can do in interest of time, we can also explain the security group that we have created, right? If you go and remember the security group, So security group is a kind of firewall, right? But if it's your on-premise setup, then it's not your job to check the security group, because you have to tell your customer IT team that yes, you know what, this is a migration going on, and I need to allow all of the ports, right, in this security group, at least this 1433, and maybe this RDP, or maybe you can open some traffic for some time, and then once done, then you can stop. The all traffic is not a good practice, but yes, for this lab I created, but typically you have to open a specific port. So this is there, and then I don't know when it will get created. Uh, it will not take much time once it's done, but it has got its own process. Oh, it's done. Okay, so this replication instance looks okay. It is available, and then what I can do, I can again go and set up the new endpoints, something like that. Then I need to fill it up. Microsoft SQL Server. Port 1433. Database sample DB, and then test. Choose the right VPC and replication server. So you see there's a testing going on. Okay, and this testing means like whether your DMS can reach to the source server, which is EC2 SQL Server. Take some time, no problem. Sample DB spelling should be perfectly okay. Oh no, something. What is the error? Timeout. Okay, what is the problem? Let me check SQL Server, Microsoft SQL. Okay, 1433 DMS. Not required sample DB. What is the password of that? Maybe I forgot. Hold on. If I just disconnect, connect. Yeah, password I've given right. One thing. Let me modify SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. You see, what wrong thing I've done? The server name, you should have also noticed, right? The server name, I have given only the server name, but how these DMS will understand, because you have to always provide the IP addresses, right? Whether public or private. I've just given a name, then how this DMS will understand where to reach. So usually in production environment, what happened that you have to define the public IP addresses if that server is publicly accessible, or if you establish some of the direct connect or IPsec VPN, then you should go for the that one, the private IP addresses, right? So that is something.
Then this tab is itself, it is mentioned as a wrong criteria over here. It should
Which
be
one?
server IP.
Yeah.
This server name instead of that server IP should be
Uh,
mentioned.
I think, yeah. I mean, I don't deny your. I think like
Because when it is asked the server name, it should be like prefers to your name or IP. Anything you can preferably you can give. That's
yes,
the main agenda about it.
yes, sir.
Anyway, that's fine. Anything.
Yeah,
Then
I think then yeah. So we are doing good then. So we are going for the server IP. Yes, I really cannot deny much here. Yes. So EC2, then go to EC2 and private IP address, because why private IP address? Because everything running inside AWS, then okay, you can also go for public, but it would be easier. 10.0.16.191, and this is our today's server, right? Today we have created this one. Uh, yes. So SQL Server. Let's see. Right, and then endpoints. Once done, what you can do, double check and then save, and then go for the testing. If you go and do a little test also, hold on. Endpoint is always kind of taking a time. So we have fixed that issue. Let's see. Instead of server IP, server name, we have given a server IP. And I'm doing again kind of test operations. Yes, this time it is successful. And now you understand, yes, we have to create another endpoint, and this time is a target endpoint. And our target endpoint is running on RDS DB instances. And our DB instances is which one? Target DB, right?
yes, both I think you have given same name. It's I think so. In
Yes, given the same name. Yeah. So now here this target DB, and then the same informations, right? You have to provide the particular server name, and this time in this endpoint that we have defined, you can pick it up here. You can just copy from here, no problem. If you can find, otherwise you can go so that it will be a right one. And same thing, PostgreSQL password. One important observations that I've gone through, like in case it's a PostgreSQL, typically then you have to enable this SSL mode, which is required. So that is AWS mandatory stuff, like because it should be very secure for PostgreSQL. So these options you have to make required, else everything would be kind of same. Then again, replication server, and then you have to do a run test for the target. See, it looks okay now, successful, create endpoint. So Now source endpoint and target endpoint done, DMS replication done, then what next? This is the last step, guys, and then it's all okay. Then we have to do a database migration task, right? That is something, the final step. So you need to create a task and mapping source and target, and then some of the more options. So let's say our demo DMS. So in this replication instance, now you're saying, hey, enter, I'm just going to map, like this is my replications, that is my source, that is my, target, right? Then I'm going to do migrate existing data, then migrate existing data and replicate ongoing changes, or only replicate data changes only. Super important, guys. So many customers, they say that, okay, for the disaster recovery solutions, DCDR, I need a kind of solutions where my database will still run on my on-prem and DR on cloud, maybe the databases, and I need a CDC. CDC means continuous data changes. So you may choose the second options, right? If you want to do only one-time migrations, then migrate existing data. Or if you go only once migration done, then only the replicate data changes only. That's something. But these first and second options are very popular. But our case, I can go for this migrate existing data, or migrate existing data and replicate ongoing changes as well. Let me choose this migrate existing data.
I have one query over here.
It's good.
So my concern is replicate migrate existing data. So just take an example. In my source, I'm going to keep my the DR site as well as you are keeping in a cloud. So my concern is like, so first time when I'm doing that, just take an example. The data has got migration. I'm selecting this option, particular option, and I have didn't break the replication. It is still continuing. Okay, and so whatever the changes I'm doing it on a source, but I don't want that to be get replicated on my DR
Correct.
site, like in your cloud.
Correct.
So when I want some changes, that particular time, that again I have to come to this service and click only this migration existing data or replication, replicate existing data. How it will be?
Yes, very good question. So in that case, you can go for this migrate existing data, and then I'll show you there's another option, like still you can go for that. But if for your particular requirement, let's say you only want to choose that, yes, DMS now pull the data, I'm okay, right? Then in
Correct.
replication, there's a button, I'll show you, then you have to click again, and then from that particular time, whatever the additional data you have made in your source, those data will only get changed, or
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So this is basically again what exactly DMS does at the target side, drop tables and create it. If you have a very big log size, then you have to define data validation, whether you need or not CloudWatch logs. So I can simply escape all this, and but these sections, this is needed, which is selections rule. In the selections rule is nothing, but I'm going to tell the DMS that all of the, at my source side, just go and grab everything. Pretty straightforward English. Okay, go and grab everything, even whatever the tables there, everything you have to fetch and put it on my RDS PostgreSQL. And also in this transformations rule, at the target side, it is saying that where this data will get dumped. Okay, in which table you want that all of the source data will get dumped or stored. This is something you have to mention. Okay, at the schema, I have defined a schema, and here you can say rename to sample DB. That means whatever the data it will pull from the source, simply it will dump or store a table called sample DB. So if you say rename to, that means it will create a table, and then all of the data will get created inside this table. I'll show you how. Okay, so that you'll understand. I
Uh, But the thing is, Devajit,
Mhm.
if I'm not wrong, when we did the connectivity between source and the target on
Yeah,
in PostgreSQL, already the sample DB has been particular folder has been created called sample DB underscore OBC ODC something it is created.
correct.
So why can't we pick that same folder over here?
Yes, that's a very, very good point. I'll show you. I mean, if you go and don't do anything, then what happen that it
Mm-hmm.
will create the another table, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
then all of the table will get created in a different table. But now what I'm saying that I'm explicitly saying that all of the records, all of the data will get stored exactly the table got created that you are saying into the same table. That is the actions of. If you don't do
Okay.
anything, it will create something sample DB, something else, and it will again create another, data in another table. But the moment you just go and change the rename to, that means you
Mhm.
remember that during this PostgreSQL creation process, there's already table created, right? In the same
Correct.
sample DB. So these data
Mhm.
will get stored in that particular table. If not, what will happen? That also I can show you in the different in
Mm.
data. It's a good observation, but this is something you have to do. Otherwise, it will create a different table
Okay.
and the data will be different. I mean, the separate table, separate data. So this is turn on a pre-assessment. I don't need that. And let's say create task. So here, right now it is getting created and I will ask your question. I'll answer your questions that you have asked for, like, in case I have made additional data and then I'll ask DMS to go and fetch only two additional data.
Mhm.
How that will show you. First, let's complete this flow. Okay, this status is getting
Okay.
created.
Okay.
That means the DMS is trying to go and fetch all of the data and put all my target databases.
Okay. So it's possible that if I want only, just take an example like on Monday I'm writing one data, Tuesday I'm writing another data, Wednesday I'm writing another data. So I want only the data for Wednesday I wanted to synchronize. So that is particularly
No.
for Wednesday it is possible.
No, only the date is not. It only checks the, the checksum, the last point that you,
Stopped it.
stopped it. And then after that, all of the data, that granularity,
Oh, okay.
it's not there.
Okay, then it is like synchronization.
Yeah, it
Will
is.
it will be a synchronized. It is
Yeah,
synchronization. Okay.
correct. So it is getting created to database migration task and it won't make much time. So let's see. Oh, I can see still many people's there. So we have got a feedback form. And then this feedback form, if you can please sign so that it will be really helpful for team. So let me just share this feedback form with you. Hold on. So this is the feedback form. I'm going to. Where is the chat window? Hmm. I've just posted a link on the chat. Okay, so it's running. And if you go and click on this table statistics, you can see there's a table. You remember there's only 3 rows there, and it should be there in the running stage. Let's complete. So at least it understand, it sees all of the rows there, the source side and the total rows count 3, and it is trying to populate all of the rows in the target. load complete. And then if I go and to this database, refresh. Which table? Just hold on. Sample DB. So I don't need this. That is a confusion. So this is the table. So all of the rows now you see they are now the same questions, Vivek. Like
Yeah, got it.
no. So let's
I got it.
let me add another row. So that's the last thing we'll wrap up. So let's say in source, I'm going to add another row database. Is sample DB. This is your use case, right? Now let's say you have updated something. What happened? Right?
Correct.
So let's see in this table, in the DBO, right click, edit, speak graphically. Then 4. Okay. And now let's say number is not here, but okay. I don't know his age. Optimally. So this is another record I have added. Okay. And now, so this is the record I've added, right? If you go and again run the same DMS tasks, let's say now restart or resume, restart or resume, whatever you can. So now from 3, I mean, from that point, when we stopped, you will grab all of the additional, rows. You can see now status is tracking. Okay.
Okay.
After some time, we should see the record 4 as well that we have just created. Let's see.
This is like kind of a manual way that we can resume or restart
You
the
can do.
after the change. Yeah.
You can do. Otherwise, if you choose CDC, then it's continuously, changing.
Yeah, continuous application is happening on the back end.
Right. Please fill up the form. So this is something my team insisted to share with you, and you may fill it up. And for next webinar, that will get little motivated or something more we can show. Here now, if I go and see the same table statistics, right now you can see another rows, which is number 4. And after some time when load get completed, I should see the additional rows there. Okay. And if I go to the here, the same query. You see the buffer does is here. That's how it works. And that's how we can end up our discussions, our webinar workshop. Any more questions? How is it? I mean, do you think that it is helpful, this kind of deep dive sessions?
Yes, Devajit, I would say 100%. But the thing is, when it is come to that real-time scenario, it's going to be quite challenging because the test, when we're doing the connectivity from source to the target, during that test which we have used it, when that report, when we're going to look into it, as you said, there all should not be the green, but it should be there are some blue checks also will be there, which we have to troubleshoot and we have to work.
Yeah.
So that is also one more thing.
You are absolutely right. So there's a very good, workshop from AWS. Okay, like SCT. I'll share SCT for store process SCT workshop. Let me put it this way. Okay, if you just let me just SCT. I've seen somewhere. or this one, I think. Let me check. So workshop step by step AWS has created, and this is a very nice one. You see that how to what sort of let's say complex schema. I think that's not a right link, but definitely share with you. Just ping me 1:1. So there's a link
Sure,
that
sure.
you are using some of specific predicate specific functions. Okay, specific predicates inside function store prop, and how you can change.
Okay.
All right, stop sharing my screen.
I'll
And
just ask one last query,
yes,
Debajit.
Sanjana, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not from the SQL background. I
Yeah.
apologize. So as you showed one tool, this is PG admin. So when we actually download that tool, as it gives us multiple OS. So my question is that does it actually depends upon the target OS?
PG admin, good question. PG admin 4 is typically for Windows and Mac. Okay. For Linux, you can still use PG, not PG admin graphical user interface, but if you are using Linux, then there's a another terminal tool. Is a kind of command line tool. Okay. So usually PS.
So does it really depends upon where exactly we have this Postgre or like our target?
Yeah. So
Does that operating system match?
correct. So if it's a PostgreSQL and if you have the Linux combination, then you always good option that you can use PSSQL. That is a inbuilt PSSQL, but it's a full command line terminal. But if you are using your local computer, Windows and maybe Mac, then you should install this PGAdmin 4. It's a handy dandy tool, and then you can connect. No operating system dependency. Let's say your PostgreSQL running on Linux, okay, or AWS or Azure, okay, you can still connect from the PGAdmin 4 from your system.
Okay. So we can download the PGAdmin for Windows and I can install that on my machine.
And let's say your
Understood.
maybe if your maybe your PostgreSQL is running on Linux, on Azure or AWS, that's still access to. Yes, correct.
We can still access. Okay, that answered my question. Thank you so much, Debajit. And this was really a nice session. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Still, you have been here. I can see all of the good comments, and it motivates me. Thank you. God bless you guys. We'll keep in touch. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.